Good morning and welcome to Aurora, Colorado for Ultiworld's coverage of the 2025 U.S. Open. It is finals day and we are in the consolation round here. Men's division, bronze medal up for grabs. Boston Glory taking on Brussels Mooncatchers. My name's Stefan Rapazzo alongside Keith Rayner to bring the action. Keith, these teams both put up great fights yesterday, both falling painfully short, I suppose, and they got to pick up the pieces, put it all back together this morning. What do you expect to see in this one?
Well, pride's on the line for these two teams, and there's some familiar faces across the line from one another, but these are two teams that have high aspirations for what they can achieve later on in their respective seasons, and I think that this Mooncatchers team, they feel a little stung by missing out on the final and DiG in a quest to potentially get their first club title. Revolver and Truck Stop felled these two teams on their way to the final, and now we'll find out who's going to take that third place. You get to finish on the podium, and otherwise your name is forever forgotten.
That's exactly it. Fourth place, toughest place to finish, and that's enough to get you up and fired up for a bronze medal game. If nothing else will. Looking back to yesterday, Keith, this is the game that was on the showcase pitch, and it was absolute fire. If you have not watched this, as soon as these games today are over, go back and treat yourself to this spectacle. It was just back and forth, non-stop action throughout.
Yeah, in Europe, they call it the show game, and it lived up to the billing. We got highlight after highlight. We got big drama, great storylines, some emerging breakout performances, including Alexandre Fall.
Wow.
It's going to be one of the talks of the tournament after this one, but Arvids Karklins playing huge. We're going to get to see him today going up against a very tall DiG team. It's probably uncommon for the Mooncatchers to go up against a team with the size to maybe even outweigh the heavyweights, but it'll be a new spot for Mooncatchers to deal with.
There's a couple notes. First time ever Moon are getting that with a bunch of these U.S. powerhouses. Mooncatchers, of course, defending European champions. DiG, fifth place in last year's national competition. And, of course, you know, you get a little international flavor here with La Fota, with Clapham, and with Mooncatchers, but there's some international flavor all over the place, even on the DiG roster.
Toby DeCrana, an up-and-coming global star in the ultimate scene, and it was competing at the under-24 national championships with Belgium with a number of his now teammates on the other side. Meanwhile, the fellow Belgians, although not from the same club teams, Karklins, a Latvian, joining this Belgian squad, and huge, talented, and a thrilling player to watch. So much room for growth even. It'll make you wonder about, could he be one of the best in the world?
He's right up there, I believe, should be in that conversation. He took a big knock to the head yesterday. I talked to him this morning. He's still got a little goose egg, but he's feeling all right. More than ready and happy to be playing here. And, you know, they're ready for this game. As I mentioned, you know, nothing's... You make it to semifinals, you've got championship aspirations, you lose that first game, and it's kind of easy to drop the head sometimes. Some teams don't always get it all back together for third, but there's nothing worse than finishing on two losses after you get into the semis, and that alone has got to be enough, beyond the pride, beyond the medal. To be able to finish on a win here is huge, and of course, only one of these two teams are going to be able to get that dub and take the bronze medal home as we kick things off here on a very sunny, warm Sunday morning. Both of these teams were in the power pool. In fact, all of the semis, it was Revolver who wasn't in the power pool and snuck in by beating Pony, but both had remained undefeated until yesterday's semi, both getting ousted to the same scoreline, 15-13 respectively.
DiG already with wins over Truck Stop, Buzz Bullets, and Rhino. Can they add Mooncatchers to the list as we get underway?
Feller kicks things off for the Moon. The big center handler, Benji Yonkers, goes to Bontemps. And Bontemps runs it back through Feller to Benji. Karklins comes under on the near sideline. Leads centrally to Ref Yonkers. The two Yonkers brothers out here.
Boston coming out with a junk, but now they're transitioning to match up.
Do they have enough? Not. Oh, it does slip just beyond Barsazi's hand. Ref looked up wondering if it was the throw, and Barsazi kind of put the hand up and said, that's me, but very interesting the miss there. I thought it was good. Whew.
Barsazi probably a little frustrated to not come up with that. Of note, no Don Desmarais on this opening 0 point.
That is different already. Sebastian Rossi bangs one deep and gives it right back. Looking for Tapper. Can't connect. Not the only Italian on this roster. At one time part of La Fotta, but had left. Had considered taking some time off to do some university, and then got a call from Orion Cable to play in Boston, and said that I guess the year off is going to be on hold for now. So happy to see it. Would hate to see one of Europe's best not in action. That's De Ritter. Through Yonkers and now to Ref Yonkers. Benji was first. Lead throw high to Barsazi. Takes with the right hand. Now looking back to center goes Shapley for Yonkers. Now Feller. And De Ritter. Arvid's Karklins.
Moon looking pretty content to stay patient and work horizontal until something opens up, and there it is.
And did it ever open up? Keith De Ritter broke the radar there, slipped past into the back of the end zone, and nice throw for Feller to find it, but they were looking very patient indeed until then.
And patience not a virtue that most viewers might associate with this Mooncatchers team, who's known as shot takers, big playmakers, but it's a part of their game that they have intentionally refined. They are looking to dial it in as they sense the opportunity to compete with the world's best clubs at a new level, and a more sustainable style of play feels like it might better increase their odds of becoming truly the best club team in the world.
Which is indeed their goal. You know, credit to PA, as he's known, Pierre-Alain Delamain-Dubex, the head coach. But when he took over, he very intentionally tightened the belt, drew back on the reins, and made it a conservative offense. And then since they hit it, he's now allowing little bits and pieces of their original liberal nature to slip back into the fold.
And as much as implementing that change is a challenge, I think the biggest part is getting the team to buy in. It's a lot more fun, I think, to go out there and sling the rock around and see how things work out. But to get a lot of these young athletic players to say, maybe it's better for us in the long run, maybe we'll have even more fun winning if we take it slow and do the simple things well instead of the flashy things.
Yeah, I think the buy-in, it seems to be there. They've played through it. I feel like they've now won their first European championship, and big part of it was because of that buy-in. So they do believe in their coach, and that's big, as Dick sends to the other Belgian, not in white on this field, De Krana, back to Dick. He swings to Jeff Babbitt. Babbitt to De Krana, thought about the deep, held off. Now Cable goes deep as the disc goes back to Babbitt and through to Dinger. Babbitt in the backfield. Unloads to Stoughton. And lead throw, Toba De Krana. De Krana, nice underneath to Stoughton. Blade over top. That one hits to Dinger. And in the red zone, Dick surveys and Babbitt gives the option. 1-1. Nice patient hold for DiG to get themselves on the board.
First look at the Mooncatchers defense, and a lot of poaching and switching, stuff that I think is very familiar for American audiences. That junk set slowed DiG down, made sure that they weren't going to get any quick scores. So you see, for example, that switch off on the mark, willing to give up a whole new stall count to try and take away some space. But DiG able to stay patient and let the game come to them for an easy goal.
Couple holds to open things up.
And I said that this DiG team might be the bigger squad, but it's not necessarily uniform. It's not often that you see Jeff Babbitt go up against someone who might actually outweigh him.
Yeah,
but Spalholz is a big, strong guy.
Those two are heavyweights for sure. Big hitters, both great players, but big dudes. And you said Don Desmarais barking instructions out there. I believe his cleats are on. But another point, he's not on the line. So we'll keep our eye on that. We didn't get any intel that he wouldn't be playing. And he does have the boots on, so we'll expect to see him.
Well, that wouldn't be unfamiliar sight for star players to be missing games. We've had the World Games coming up. A number of the best players in all the divisions taking some time.
Feller bangs one. Bontemps had separation, but he could not get it past the defender. Tapper eats that one up. Break chance for DiG. Davis Brand goes forward to Berth. Back in the middle, Graf. Graf kicks to the side. Young. And centralized once more. Graf has a touch and moves it on. Young. Up top, Graf waits it over the shoulder. Young and Graf exchange again. Quick work by Boston. DiG! And they're in for a break. Scintillating speed. It's like they got faster as they moved closer to the end zone. Emmett Young collects the goal.
Young, new addition for DiG this year out of Brown. And interesting to see him opening that possession next to Oscar Graf from Tufts, and then Wyatt Kellman from UMass. I mean, these are guys who all go head-to-head at their college regional championships with their seasons on the line, and now they're all working together. Graf breaking free and then off to the races with Young. Great pursuit by Young into the end zone. But to return to the point about Desmarais, he is not playing at the World Games. Belgium's not sending a team there, but does have UFA Championship weekend on the horizon. It's potentially going to be the league MVP this year, leading the only undefeated team in the league, Chicago Union. Chicago Union, excuse me.
Yeah, he's got lots of ultimate on, that's for sure, as well as continuing at the club season with Machine. He's been busy, Don. Played in Dubai earlier this year, went over to China, played this year on some all-star selection kind of teams, as well as starting off in the European season, coaching with the under-24s, and of course making plenty of time for his home team, Mooncatchers, particularly when they're coming over stateside for a tournament like this.
I think 3 years ago I never had heard the name Don Desmarais, and now we're talking about he might be the best player in men's competition on the planet.
It's incredible how quickly he has risen, and it's incredible how quickly the Mooncatchers have given that one right back to DiG, and they're in the end zone before you can blink. Peter Berth with the goal. And I think that's Graf again who gets the assist. He's everywhere early on in this one, but we're short possession for Moon. I'm not even sure how this one got coughed up. Here it is, Barsazi, not too far and off the fingertips of Bontemps. Graf again, 2 touches before setting up the assist. He's having a good morning, but a lot of it's just coming to him.
Quick disc movement has been the espresso of this morning for this DiG team, although they don't look really even that thrilled to have scored that goal. Maybe they need a Doppio or something.
Get him the double. What do the Belgians need in the morning? Bolterkuchen. That's what they have over there. I think it's just like basically the word for donut. But
well, then I'd like one.
Oh, yeah. You and I would happily get down on some Bolterkuchen right now. But that is definitely what they get down on in the Flemish parts of Belgium for sure, which Brussels is not necessarily part of that Flemish part. Ghent, where Tobe de Kraan is from, is definitely, they'd be talking Bolterkuchen.
Right now, the Mooncatchers talking holds because I think that there's a chance that in these third place games, you already lost the big game. You're emotionally down. It can be tough to recover from that. No star players not on the field for you. They're going to need a spark from somebody.
They've got enough that should be able to provide that spark. They're going to need it sooner than later. This game's going to slip away. Benji Yonkers fires high. Is it too high for even Carclents? And they're missing on some easy stuff. Some routine operations are not going the way of the Moon. And DiG have one more chance to capitalize. Fortin breaks to Sebarossi, the Italian. He fires inside. Turner Allen. And to the far sideline, Davis Brandt. Young finds center. Allen to Young again. Ooh, and a miscommunication there. Christ when he was supposed to cross, and now Yonkers and the Mooncatchers get a second chance to hold lead to ref Yonkers. Arvids Carclents in the end zone. There's the hammer, and they work that one out finally. They're on the board with a second hold after 3 in a row went against.
And in the danger zone for a moment there. Another break might have yielded at least a timeout, but certainly have put the Mooncatchers on the back foot. But they get the reset error out of this DiG D-line offense, which looked pretty crisp prior. Here's the missed throw from Yonkers. And matched by Young and DiG. And I think both of these examples of how forcing a team to off of their first look to go to their second and third look generally is just going to increase their odds of making a mistake. Even if you're just lowering their completion percentage on each successive look, by 2-3%, that's going to add up over the course of a game.
Yeah, when we talk about games of inches, which Ultimate most certainly is, the consistency of your pressure, the consistency of your focus account for so many of those small margins.
You said inches? Are you sure you don't mean
centimeters?
Meters?
Well, we're still talking to a primarily American audience here, despite all the Europeans tuning in. They've worked it all out by now. They know that this imperial system is different, but they get what's being spoken about. Jeff Babbitt comes under for the first gainer.
It's going to be a day at the School of Hard Knocks for Spa Holtz.
Yeah.
Although, I imagine his practice reps are pretty tough, too.
Yeah, but I'd imagine this is something he's really looking forward to. De Kraan for Stoughton goes up, takes it high with 3 Moon defenders on all sides of him. None could close down the lane or take away the shape on that throw.
And if I'm Calvin Stoughton there and I'm making that cut and I look around and I see all the bodies around me, I might be saying, no, don't put it. But absolute spot from DeCrana. And you don't get bonus points for degree of difficulty, but if you did, this is like 2.8 goals. I mean, no hesitation from DeCrana to angle that in, make sure it's still in front of the receiver with some height on it so a layout's not going to get to it, but just perfectly located for the speedy Stoughton.
Toba fit to Stoughton. You know what else of note is Rowan McDonald hasn't had a point yet. We were wondering at the start of the game if he would be in action. He was in his hoodie prior to the game. He does have the cleats on as well, but potentially a similar situation to Don Desmarais. He's got a big game next week as well in the UFA, so if there's any niggles, perhaps keeping an eye on those. But we will keep our eye on him as well to see if he does put himself amidst the action.
Fan favorite, Rowan McDonald. One of the most fun players to watch.
Benji Yonkers will jog it to the spot.
Side stack from Moon. That's not going to get DiG out of these poaches.
Now, Ben Horisberger is playing the deep space. Now they've switched it up, but he was in front of Karklins and is still with Karklins, and that is an interesting matchup for their respective sizes. We'll see if anything comes of that. Yonkers to Yonkers, but that one is broken up. Yuan, but I don't think it is. Wearing the 32 jersey, gets in front for the block. Young leads forward to Berth. Berth for Graff. And that is yet another break for Boston's DiG. And they are sitting pretty. 3 breaks to none. It's 5-2. They're going to get the pull reception in the second half. Things are very much going Boston DiG's way this morning.
Their D-line offense has been very impressive. Or Mooncatchers D-line offense has been quite lacking. O-line defense, I should say, has been quite lacking. Great block here by DiG. And then just easy upline work. I mean, a lot of this action coming from the backfield as Oscar Graff kind of high steps his way into the catch. This D-line for DiG has been rolling through the first part of this game. They're getting blocks. They're operating well on offense. They're coming out with different looks. Probably a bit confusing for Moon based on how many different looks you've already seen from DiG. And they've got a pretty impressive cast of defenders who are not as well known as their big offensive stars, but could be a really effective unit.
They are certainly shining, taking on their assignments and getting their jobs done this morning.
I mean, you mentioned Horisberger. I mean, he and Graff are, I think, 2 of the best defenders from this past college season. They can put them together on a line with some more experienced talent and some strong offensive players on the turn. Just putting the puzzle pieces together here as we turn the calendar over to August.
Yeah, Horsberger did a great job. You know, it's a short possession. I mean, it's interesting to see. You know, it's nearly a foot difference. You kind of notice those matchups, but he had Karklins in check.
Well, during warm-ups when they were playing their mini, I did see Horsberger covering Orion Cable and Jeff Babbitt. I just assumed that had just kind of worked out based on the rotation, but maybe that was intentional. Maybe they're like, hey, let's get you ready for going up one-on-one with Karklins.
Yonkers to Appletinch, who's crossed over to play some O. Low throw by Appletinch and another turn, but Benji stood up with it. There's Shirley talking up down here. Heck of a grab if he did keep it off the turf. Ooh, I think I believe it. Ooh, that is so close. And the next throw gets smacked away by Graf.
G's him, bud. Oh, G's him.
And picked up by Graf the same. Berth finds center. Graf now Rossi. Sebarossi leads in. Berth not quite, but the flipper over the top. In for the goal. Cole Davis Brand on the reception, and Boston continue to have their way with the head-hung Mooncatchers.
And this young D-line from DiG, I think you can see how they're benefiting from the development of these young players. If you've seen them over their careers or seen these DiG D-lines in years past, you know, Oscar Graf and Peter Borth, these were guys who were mostly out there to gain yards, to run downfield, play some defense. But now they're able to control the pace of play after the turn. See again that dig up from Benji. No pun intended.
It was ruled to catch. I think I give it. It was that close, but the next throw set this up for Boston. And cases of everything going right and everything going wrong right now has led to a Mooncatchers timeout.
Well, when we saw Moon come out and hold comfortably to start this game, it was a lot of quick disc movement side to side. They're not able to do that right now, not against this DiG defense.
They've had two holds, but two's not enough. You know what else is not enough is getting through life without having an Ultiworld subscription. It's time to get on board, get your subscription, take in all the action. So much. How much is coming up? What's up next, Keith?
We got the Pro Championships coming up. We also have YCC for the next couple days. Get a chance to see the future of Ultimate out here, and we'll have content coming out during the World Games in a couple weeks. So you'll definitely want to be tuned in for that. And we're not that far from both regionals and nationals deciding the true stories of this 2025 club season. Ultiworld.com/subscribe for more details, or to go ahead and get yourself set up.
Go do it. You'll thank yourself for it. And let's see if Mooncatchers can end up thanking themselves for taking that break. Hopefully there's a big red reset button they could press in the middle of that huddle.
You are just kind of looking to reset yourselves. Say, all right, we can kind of put the cork on those past 8 points, focus on what we're going to do moving forward.
It is easier said than done, of course. Momentum is a very tricky subject to reverse.
And you wonder if we're going to see Moon fold their hand. If this one continues at this rate, are they going to be able to find the will to make this a competitive game?
You want to hope so, but these things do happen. When games get out of hand, we've definitely seen teams fight back to stay in, and as you said, we've seen the fold. For now, they're going out of the timeout. It's Bontemps. And he's blasted it deep. Barsazi and Karklins, and it's too far for everyone. And it will go to turnover once more. And Boston DiG have another chance to break.
Just nothing working right now for Mooncatchers. Able to get a good spot there, but not able to dial in the throw.
Inbounded from Fortin to Rossi. And the continuation straight back to Sebarossi. Oh, what a great bid left. Sticky hand there. Keeping it alive. Horaceberger back to Rossi.
How many times do you think Rossi and Barsazzi have gone head-to-head?
Yes, very many times. And have been on the same teams and against one another plenty in their days. Two of, if not the two, top Italian players in the male matching division right now. Far sideline, Allen. Chips forward, Rossi. Pops center, and that should do it. Another goal for the DiG crew into the hands of Allen. 4 in a row, one of those after the timeout.
And that's tough, to take the timeout, to talk about the things you're going to do better, and then come out and get scored on in a single possession. It's a deflating feeling.
And we see that deflation. Coach Pea trying to dig into the bag, find a way to motivate more than anything right now. It's certainly not tactics or strategy that they really need to correct. Sure, you can identify a few things that are going wrong, but it's energy, it's will to win right now that is lacking for the Mooncatchers as Sebarossi pushes one into the small space for the goal.
Well, I doubt that they traveled all this way just to come out and roll over for DiG. And I think, to me, if I'm coaching this team, I'm really focused on the defense, because sometimes you can feel like the offense isn't really clicking, and you can always control the effort level and the intensity that you bring on the defensive end. There's nothing the other team can do to take that away, and that's a good skill to be able to build up. So you can kind of let your defense power your offense a little bit by starting to get some defensive momentum, generate some blocks, force some turnovers, get some fast breaks. Because there's been little resistance after the turn for this Mooncatchers team. Yeah. I think the turnovers are less of a concern than that is.
Well spotted. I agree with you. It's that extra deflation that comes with the turnover seems to suck even more will from the legs. Abel Tinch will pick up the out-of-bounds pull. Van der Roost crossed over. This is a full D-line now, receiving a pull for the Mooncatchers, and I think that's a good idea. I think Sofiane Bontemps is maybe the only O-line player out there. Marek and Van der Roost. Now Abel Tinch to the big Austrian, Spalholz.
And this type of quicker disc movement, I think, was a marker of them getting what they wanted earlier, but another turn.
Yeah, but Van der Oost can't hang on to it. It was low, but these things that we're used to seeing the Mooncatchers make plays for are just getting the wrong bounces, and DiG are taking advantage. Graf and company once more. And bounce between Graf and Spalholz. And Graf got up and gave a little shove back there, I think.
I think perhaps saying, hey, this is what you did. But it's not really how you want to see the response given. That's not the method of communication I think we're all looking for.
Flopping to the ground. Flopping? Oh, that wasn't really that much.
And the players have, a lot of times I say in these situations they agree to disagree. I don't think that they agreed to disagree that time. I think they just straight up
disagreed to agree. Yeah, the claim for flopping from Spalholtz to Graf, an interesting one.
And those are both really physical players.
Babbitt takes over, central for Graf. Young finds a seam inside. Graf straight back to Young. Up line, Graf once more. And another exchange with Young. Just gets that one through. Hangs one for Young. Now some space. Finds the opening. Cole Davis Brand with another goal and another break. This run is painful for the Mooncatchers and glorious for Boston's DiG.
Another great offensive possession from the DiG defense as they continue to work from about the line of scrimmage to generate their cuts. And it's making their decisions really simple, clean execution, and what look like easy goals. So you see the turnover spot, it's a little bit out in front. And there's the contact that drew the ire from Graf. But DiG finishing it off. Their D-line is rolling, and they're digging a grave right now for the Mooncatchers. Up 8-2 as we go into half.
Second half about to begin after a very one-sided first half. Here at the U.S. Open bronze medal game, we've got Boston DiG coach Sam Lehman. Sam, a great start for Boston this morning. Talk about the way you guys have taken over this first half.
Yeah, as a team, we have a core principle of it's around the term always compete, which means every game we're in, we're going to give everything. Obviously, we don't want to be in the third place game. We'd rather be in the final later today. But this game is our final, and so I think we showed that we came out a little bit hotter, wanting to win this game. And, yeah, I think the score shows that.
Is it challenging to get the team excited to play in the third place game after you take your first loss of the weekend in the semis yesterday, and now you got to fire back up this morning?
Yeah, the boys showed that they were really ready to play this game, so it didn't take too much from us to get them ready to go. Again, pre-game speech, we just said, hey, this is our final. That's all they needed to come out super hot.
And you guys are definitely hot with Moon seemingly flat as well. Big scoreline differential. Any halftime messages to make sure that energy can be maintained to the finish line here?
Yeah, we had a game against Bravo in our quarter where we went up early and then kind of coasted through the second half. Definitely want to avoid another scenario like that with this second half. So for us, it's just keep our foot on the gas all the way through, take it 1 point at a time, and hopefully have a similar second half like we had with this first one.
Well, hopefully for you indeed. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck in that second half.
Appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.
Sam Lehman from Boston DiG, and look at that. I mean, a whole bunch of donuts on that left-hand side. Keith, not a great-looking summary for the Mooncatchers.
And I think a stat that's in the Stato app. So in my mind, I think of it as European language. You can tell me if I'm wrong here. Point recovery. Being able to get a turnover but still score to hold. And we've just seen a real lack of that from Mooncatchers. And we haven't really seen their typical flair. I know we talked about them being a more disciplined team in this iteration, but usually you do still see some of those hype highlights. But instead, this has been a boring game, and I think that's what DiG wants. They're playing with fire on defense and then just execution on offense.
Yeah, they have taken all the wind out of the Mooncatchers' sail, slowed things down, playing their style only, and forcing the Mooncatchers to do something about it. Right now, it's only DiG doing anything. It's 8-2. We'll be back with the second half.
The 2025 club season is upon us, and Ultiworld is bringing you all the action. Ultiworld is the best place for live video, news, highlights, and analysis of your favorite teams and players. Make sure to subscribe for our extensive live coverage of the USAU club season, including the thrilling club championships in San Diego in October, exclusively on Ultiworld.
The 2025 U.S. Open Club Championships are presented by Discraft, home of the Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Your place for all your ultimate and disc golf needs. Visit discraft.com. We make flying discs fun.
'25 U.S. Open, all happening here in Aurora, Colorado. DiG have definitely woken up this Sunday morning, and they are running wild all over the Mooncatchers, up 8-2. They have humbled this team that's flown all the way over from Brussels, Belgium, and have really extinguished any fire. Mooncatchers left it all out there yesterday. Came up just short in a cracking semifinal, but very similar situation for DiG.
Yeah, this DiG team has had a really strong run through this event. They, prior to that semifinal, had been undefeated, as was Mooncatchers. But DiG taking a loss yesterday at the hands of Revolver. But prior to that, they beat the reigning champs, Rhino Slam. They beat Buzz Bullets. And it's been a strong performance, though, for Mooncatchers and the other visiting teams.
Yeah, Lafutta and Clapham went through pool play without getting the wins, but on the crossovers, Clapham knocked off Buzz. Lafutta knocked off Chain. Both of them stayed in the top 8. And as you see now, the brackets, they did both get knocked off. Clapham by Moon, Lafutta by Truck, but put up strong showings. Pony was the other team that went through the power pool. They got knocked off by a red-hot Revolver who heated up throughout.
And it's been fun to see these visiting teams from Europe and Japan compete with some of the best teams in the U.S. It's particularly at a time right now. We just had the Under-24 World Championships. World Games is a week away. So there's a certain international flavor to this club season. Teams are trying to qualify for the World Ultimate Club Championships as well. And these teams are talented. I think we've seen the continuous updraft of skill, talent, dedication coming from around the world. The gap between North American teams and the rest of the international ultimate community feels like it closes more and more every time that we see them clash.
Yeah, you get that feeling, and then you go to a tournament like Logroño 124 and you see the U.S. dominance. They are still able to put it together. They are still a step ahead. These, the American national teams, the American club teams, But I do believe that the competition is creeping slowly. Are they able to usurp them in the big dance in the World Championships? Seemingly not yet. Is it potentially coming? I think there's more and more belief that there is a possibility of the upset. There is a possibility to knock off the mighty Americans in international competition.
Well, under 24s in particular, I think is going to remain the domain of the U.S. and potentially Canada. Huge advantage infrastructurally for the United States, who has this robust college scene where there are thousands of players getting tons of high-quality reps. So I think the under-24 situation is often going to favor the U.S., but we're seeing them get tougher challenges, and this World Games will be another, not referendum per se, but another chance to see, because this is where the global community, I think, can really shine. Smaller rosters, it's less about depth, it's more about your top-end talent, and unfortunately the pools may be making it a little less likely.
There's a turnover by Boston DiG's O-line, a rarity thus far in this game. Van der Oost picks up, goes to Marek, and Moon with a break chance to open up the second half. Betrancourt. Blammer, and it's on the spot for the goal. I think that's Avezu. Indeed it is, with the goal. His first touch of the game counts as the first break of the game and the first goal in quite some time for the Mooncatchers.
First touch, and they didn't give him an easy one.
No.
That hammer turned over maybe less than any hammer I've ever seen. It was almost directly vertical for most of its flight.
Well, I called it a blammer quite intentionally because that is a blade hammer. And that was, coming vertically straight down. Nice way to open up the second half. Take advantage of a Boston error, help them get that turnover. Unforced to some ends, but well done. Pick it up, play it in. D-line offense playing as good or better than the O-line offense thus far this morning.
Well, that's only the third point that we've seen this DiG O-line, so maybe they haven't quite gotten the chance to get the muscles loose the way that the D-line has.
But going back to the international competition, Keith, I think you're absolutely right with the World Games. It is still USA advantage, but all the reasons you said, shorter games, lower scores, smaller rosters, I think the whole world is hoping for, some similarities when Germany could knock off the USA, and Colombia's done it in the past in pool play. Can it just materialize a little bit further? I think
Australia was step for step with them last World Games.
Yeah, it offers the greatest chance to kind of swing with and potentially knock off the mighty U.S. program. Boston showing their might. Dinger and company trying to avenge the single break against that happened on the last point. Dinger to Babbitt. And Stoughton doesn't like the contact on the back from Tacan and slows things down with that call. Across to Dinger and straight back to Babbitt, quickly shoveled forward to Decran. He leads just in front of the end zone and shoveled to Orion Cable from Dick, and Boston holds on the second point of the second half.
Nice find from Decrana, opening things up with that big forehand. But the intentions of this DiG system are clear. They want to take short, easy throws. They want to beat switching teams by keeping the disc moving. And then when they find their opportunity to take a big gainer, they'll use the size and athleticism they have downfield.
Mostly I want to see in a game like this. Let me see if I can flip it. Because I think there's somewhere there.
I'm going to tee you up for this, Steph, because I want to get your firm answer here, so you can take some time if you need to come back to it to let this one germinate.
You've got me intrigued already.
Who do you think's got the best chance of taking down the U.S.?
Oh. I think I can answer you because we've discussed this a little bit. But that said, our discussion prior was I was a little bit of here, a little bit of there. I'd jump in and out and hang on some fences. But I am going to put some stock in that the Colombian MMPs are both mysterious. There's a few names out there that are new to that international scene. And improved. I saw Jorge Buja, one of the names I had not heard anything at all about. He played for the Tokai Super Team, and just seeing the way he operated as one of those seven, I believe that they will be a unit that is well improved. And of course, the FMPs there. We know what they can do. Hammer by Bontemps, and he hits Karklins, and they've gone back to the playbook of the Mooncatchers of old for that one. Big hammer. Bontemps finds Karklins, and they're in the lead in the second half, 2-1 with a break in that hold.
Well, we said that we were missing a bit of that Mooncatchers flair, and second half is kicked off with two big hammers for scores for the Mooncatchers. Bontemps with a deep, strong strike, and he knew he was going to throw that basically as soon as he caught it. And I'm sure it gives you a little bit of confidence boost knowing you're throwing Arvids on the other end. As he examines the disc, just maybe to make sure that Bontemps didn't have something on there to help him do that. I was impressed too, Arvids.
Big shot from Bontemps. So, I think I could probably, going back to that last conversation, I could say that about 2 or 3 countries. I think there's 2 or 3, but if I gotta pick one that I'm gonna say is gonna have the chance to swing against, based on the way the pools are, Colombia, Australia, Canada, and France, to just pick 2 of them to come out is already difficult.
Indeed, that is the rub. It feels like the 4 teams with the best chance of being the U.S. are all in the same pool, and only 2 of them are going to make it into the semifinals.
Madness. As DeCran and Dick play behind the disc for DiG. DeCran goes back to Dick. He leads forward for Stoughton. Central. Dick and Babbitt exchange. Once more to Dick. High release, leads well. DeCran was opened up in front and used the space for another assist. Boston takes it to 10-4. That one in for Abrahamson.
And DeCran remains kind of the funnel through which this offense flows. Lots of backfield movement, short passes, but then they get it to Tobe in space. And once he's into that space, he's able to make some of the really damaging throws that crack open the defense.
The way this game is going, it does indeed look like European teams will be left off the podium. But if it is indeed the case, you'll get those 2 European medalists at least with Rossi and DeCran.
Well, so with DeCran, you've explained to me how there really is no crossover between the 2 larger men's division clubs in Belgium. But is there an attempt to bridge that? Is Moon like, come on, Tobe, if you were to join Moon, like, what could we be? Surely that has been asserted to him.
I mean, I hope so. But, Gentle's got the similar ambition. They are a step behind, but they're going to be... They've qualified for WCC again. They'll be sending to WCC again. They've got a very familial family kind of vibe in Ghent. It is an awesome ultimate community, and I think that is enough to keep Toby from even thinking about going to play with the bad guys as far as they're concerned.
Well, it in some ways, it mirrors some of the conversations that have been had about the Boston community, where there's fractious feels like it adds too much animus to what exists between clubs, but there's often a thought like, what if the Boston clubs could all get together and make a super club? How good could that team be? And DiG has tried to do that in some ways in the men's division, but it's interesting to wonder about, and it sounds like there's some parallels between those two different communities.
Ref Yonkers, and now they're all coming out. Hammer, that one was not in for much of his flight. Ref smacks the thighs, and Dismay couldn't connect with Barsazi. And DiG get things going once more. Ooh, but the high throw, it looks like there's backup though. Everything going right for Boston. Allen plucks one out of the sky. Davis Brand gives and gets. Now over the top for Young. Young into the guts of Graf. He looks back, waits and hits right in the corner. Boston cannot be stopped. Another break. It is 11-4. First break of the second half for Boston. But their 7th break of the game. Boston pouring things on here. Rossi's got the disc. He'll be set to pull.
And we've seen this DiG offense be very effective at creating these short lanes. And let's stop here, and we're going to watch Graf's progression. He gets an upline cut going from behind the disc from Emmett Young, and then he's going to immediately look off the line. Looking off the line, and then when that look's not there, the next look is up the line. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's not complex, but it gives them a lot of clarity about what to do next and where to look next. Graf knows, upline fake, look for the around, get it off the line. If that's not there, my guy's going up the line, easy money. And the simplicity of the system is part of the strength. It's hard to defend even if you know what's supposed to be happening next.
Graf having a game out there today. A goal and an assist and a block, but so much more with completion percentage and yards and or meters generated.
And he's a workhorse. And seeing his offensive skill with the disc on the rise, I think is going to open up a new world for him to grow as a player. And he's a guy who could easily be the anchor of a D-line, both as one of the primary defenders and the driver of offense on the turn, or I don't want to say graduate to O-line because I think there's a false dichotomy there, but his offensive game could get him onto an offensive line.
Mooncatchers. Van der Oost fakes the hammer, gives to Ref Yonkers. Low throw, Ref, another turn. And DiG, another break chance. Graf once more to quarterback this D-line. Rossi. The Italian from Rimini, the host city of the famed tournament Paganello. Part of this crew. Emmett Young, and the turnover there. Moon get a second chance to hold. Abeltinch on the pickup. Goes to the far side. Ref bangs one forward. Betrancourt. Arcs it to the other side for Bontemps. And Bontemps drops the hammer. Betrancourt the target, but the miss and a whole lot of black shirt company around.
back-to-back hammer turnovers that we've seen after coming out and striking while the iron was hot. But maybe you have to change up the look a little bit after missing on a pair.
Maybe. Let's see.
Not to say I think that's necessarily the most likely thing to happen, but maybe the thing you want to see if you're the coach.
Yeah, fair. Sebarossi goes over top. I had wondered what the connection was to get Sebarossi on this team. I assumed it was through De Crana. And that one into Graff for the goal. Beautiful, shapely throw from the sideline coming from Tapper. And just like that, it's 12-4. One more break and 3 in a row now. Again, Boston on a run.
And as you can imagine, in a game where the score is this lopsided, it has been a D-line showcase for DiG. Oscar Graff now with 2 goals, 2 assists, and a block to his name.
But how about that break chance efficiency by the Mooncatchers? They're 100%.
I mean, I guess really, honestly, they shouldn't try not to generate any more turns. They can keep the 100%. Just don't ask me how many opportunities that was.
Yeah, 100% is great, but 1 for 1 ain't gonna cut it against 8 for 11. But I did ask Rossi how he ended up in DiG, and it wasn't through DeCran. But in 2022, La Fota had 3 American pickups, and that was Goose Helton, Kurt Gibson, and Orion Cable, who has family in Bologna. And that was the connection. He said he got a call from Orion Cable and said, "What are you thinking about this season? Why not start thinking about Boston?" And, well, he did.
We've seen more and more players coming from other international communities to compete here in the U.S. club scene. It's the strongest competitive environment you're going to get outside of elite international national team competition. And players recognize that. They see the opportunity to play with the best of the best, to get better, to learn and take things back to their own communities. And I think that is part of why you're seeing the Global Ultimate community gain more and more ground in the U.S. is they're coming here to compete.
That pole went wildly out of bounds. What I want to see more of, and what I think, setting up this kind of a recruitment ability is also seeing the American players going over. Like Mooncatchers, I went back to, that a lot of that started by having Joe and Tim and Isno and Paul and Johnny in Moon, and Paul's gone back and now played on the European scene and won there too, not just played a European team on the world scene. And we're going to see more of that this year with some Revolver players going to play for Grut, and it's exciting stuff. I hope that those crossovers continue to go both ways and lift the level on both sides of the Atlantic. Marek goes to Abeltinch. Blades one forward. Benji Yonkers with his flurry of fakes, then goes to brother Ref. High take towards the back corner of the end zone, and Moon chalk another one up. They're still down 7, but they'll take it to stem the flow.
A lot of great offensive work for Mooncatchers on that point. They got some quick disc movement. They were basically just attacking the break side as throwers. And then I like the instinct to go cross field, to go against the grain. You've been coming up this other sideline from Yonkers, but I'm a little concerned about making the hardest throw of the point be the one that's into the end zone. Fortunately, when you got a receiver like another Yonkers on the other end, even hard throws can look simple. I'm sure the Belgians wish they could be competing at the World Games on this stage, given their level of play, but got our 8 teams, and there's, with only 8 teams and one host team taking up a slot, there are some good national teams that are not going to be in attendance. We had a dramatic qualification process at the World Ultimate Championships.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, Keith, I've talked about who I think can swing there. I can tell you who I believe will be 1-8, but 2-6 is really a crapshoot here. You got what's your take on this? Who you got?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say. I think the United States are going to take this home. I think that they've got a great setup to do so. And, you know what? I'm still trying to figure out my final pick for who's going to be on the other side, who's going to finish in the bronze medal. You may have to tune in to Deep Look to get my final set. But
I'm not having it, Keith. You got about 28 minutes and 33 seconds to go. And we'll see if we can force Keith's hand. If not, tune into Deep Look. But we're going to keep the pressure on him just a bit here. See if we can get something out of him. But it is, it's a pick-em. I really do think these teams are so well balanced this year. One of my favorite, there's OC and Carkland's, a couple giants charging down the pitch.
And we haven't seen DiG really make use of these big athletic downfield targets. And they finally try and push that button, and Carkland's is in the way.
Ooh, next throw, I believe it's Avezu. Throws straight out of bounds and then got caught feeling upset about it, as Van der Oost, in fact. And the next throw for Stoughton was wide open in the corner. And a very quick response after getting a break chance. That's going to affect their break chance. Drop from 100% to 50% that quick, Keith.
It'll ding the completion percentage of that unit. And, you know, I don't think they have a lot of aspirations of winning this game, but you would like to close out your trip to the U.S. with a little bit of success. Get the block from Carlton's, and then Van der Oost not only making the error, but then doubling it, compounding it by lamenting it. You can't take the time to think about it. You got to flip the switch to defense.
All right, Keith, so you're not going to make a pick. Here's the easy pick. Pool A, who's going through?
I'm taking the U.S., and I'm taking Japan to outclass Germany. And I think we're all expecting China to finish in the last place there as the host country. But in Pool B, I really feel like I could pick any combination and feel like, oh, this is a pretty fair shot. I feel pretty good about Australia right now, but picking between Colombia, Canada, and France, all of whom have perfectly reasonable claims, and I certainly don't feel like I'm secure in that Australia pick. I don't know where I'm going to land by the time Charlie puts my feet to the fire on YouTube Live.
Wow, by the time you get there, you will have had plenty of time to think of it. I thought we were maybe going to get something in these 20 minutes, but I'll accept.
Steph's going to have me writing my pick in blood over here soon.
Yeah, you're going to have Keith in a headlock in a couple minutes. Feller underneath.
I will say, from talking to people, I'm starting to think the favorites are the Colombians from Pool B.
I mean,
that's the sense I'm getting.
Those Cardenas sisters, I feel like they are at their absolute best right now. Hard to say how good they've been throughout their playing days, but they are training out like in the gym and they're off of the playing pitch. Big take! Carklands gets up and comes down with a handful of discrafts. Little head spike, head slap there for Big Vids.
Well, they found their identity here in the second half. Maybe at halftime, the conversation was like, who's this team that played the first half? Because it didn't look like Moon to me. We need some Moon balls. And we've certainly gotten them in the second half.
Yeah, they're doing a bit more of what they've been known to do. And it's working out a little bit better. They've still been broken 2-1 in the second half, but that is a lot better than 6-0 that they had against them in the first half.
I mean, you could see the appeal of playing a little freewheeling, especially when you got receivers like this team does. And they said if we're going to go out, we're going to go out our way.
Arvids, 3 goals and a block. Well, going back to World Games, great conversation. One of the most exciting tournaments of this year, of each 4 years or 3 years because of COVID. it is, I personally want somebody to knock off the USA. Otherwise, I want them to win undefeated so that the Tokai Super Team can make the claim that they're the only team to have beaten a U.S. team in the whole calendar year, with all undefeated teams in under 24 as well. So one of the two, either knock them straight off and no gold medal, or if they get the gold medal, it's got to be undefeated. For my own personal glory out of this one. Stoughton leads forward to Dick. Dick bounces off Takan, then high release right over his shoulder. Abrahamson to Dekrana. Stoughton gives a good cut, and Dekrana scoops, and then next cut towards the corner is honored for a goal. DiG find their way to game point. They're up 14-6.
Really enjoying the chemistry between Stoughton and Dekrana, who've managed to make some difficult plays look very simple between the two of them. They're very much on the same page, and maybe it's a style of play where they feel like, hey, we align with how we want to attack. Let's play with pace. Let's be aggressive. Let's assert ourselves so the other team has to respond to us. And it's really working out. Stoughton setting up that break side cut. Dekrana responding with a scuba. And then Stoughton able to give it right back to him.
Toba was still in the under-24 division this year, but was a big part of it 2 years ago in Nottingham as well.
And rumor has it still has another under-24 cycle to go.
Which is madness. But I still remember also Sebarossi was part of the Italian campaign in Nottingham. I remember a highlight clip between Rossi and Stoughton. A great goal line cut from Stoughton that left Rossi in his dust. And you see, all these three adversaries at that tournament, and now teammates putting it all together. A couple goals short of featuring in the final, but really looking the goods in this bronze medal game. And as much as there's been good games all across the board, those three have done a good part of the shining. Benji Yonkers. Where's he bringing this disc to? What's going on here? And onto the attacking brick mark. Benji goes to Feller. Back again. Feller looks to the dump space, but well covered up. Young was all over Ref. He opens up on the second effort and tries to go over Sebarossi, who gobbles it up and transfers possession. Chance to win the game for Boston.
Yeah, that look might have caught people off guard a few seasons ago, but now everybody's looking for that. You've got to get that there quickly if you want to get there at all.
Sebarossi on the chase for the game. It goes over top of the backup plans there. Tapper chases under it, and Boston DiG take the bronze medal at the 2025 U.S. Open, emphatically putting it to the Mooncatchers 15-6.
They'll send the Brussels boys packing with an impressive showing. This DiG team, it's got to have high aspirations. I think they see themselves as, despite their youth, a team that can contend for a title. They've been knocking on the door here in the U.S. club scene for a couple years. Obviously, the famed, dramatic ending 2 years ago against Truck Stop. Feeling like they may have gotten cheated out of a chance to reach the semis for the first time, and they're still questing for it and certainly have the talent to be in that conversation.
Tapper gets the final score as we take a look at the game summary. Of course, we see the break chances doubling and the percentage dropping from 100 to half. But you look across that other side, 9 for 12, hitting 75%. When you're getting 12 break chances is phenomenal.
I mean, that's a clean sweep. They beat him in every category. Maybe the only one that's missing is hammers completed. And I don't know that Moon had a higher completion percentage on their hammers versus maybe the scoobers of DiG. This felt like a game in which DiG brought their style of play and dictated the type of game that it was going to be. And it wasn't until the second half that Moon was able to kind of stick their cleat in the dirt and hold their position a little bit.
So bronze medals for the Boston outfit. Mooncatchers came in saying that they wanted to make quarters and then see what was possible. I think they showed themselves and the world that anything is possible despite the loss against. And they'll have to take these high reps back over the Atlantic, see what they can do on the European stage, working towards the EUCF and their biggest goal of shining on the 2026 WUCC stage. But today was Boston's day with that bronze medal now in hand.
And a confidence builder for Boston as their youngsters were out here dominating against one of the best teams in the world. They got to feel good about what that portends for the future, not just this season, but even further down the line. And this Brussels program, also plenty of young players on this side, they have been building to something that might be really special. A sour note as an ending for the Mooncatchers, but a successful visit here to the U.S.
And with that, for Keith Rayner, I've been Stephen Rapazzo. Thanks for joining us here on Ultiworld. We'll catch you all next time.